All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to tackle one of the most talked about and maybe confusing topics in tech, artificial intelligence. We're going to cut through all the buzzwords and show you how a machine goes from just following orders to actually learning, and even creating.
Okay, so you've heard them all, right? AI, machine learning, deep learning, and now generative AI is everywhere. It's so easy to feel like they're all just different words for the same thing, but they're not. They are, however, all connected, and that's the key. By the time we're done here, you're going to see exactly how they all fit together like puzzle pieces.
So, to make this all make sense, we're going to use one single idea for this whole journey, teaching a computer how to play and master a video game. Seriously, just keep that image in your mind. It's the key that's going to make everything click. Let's start at the very top, the big one, the original idea that kicked this whole thing off, artificial intelligence. And the first thing to get is that this isn't a technique, it's the grand vision, the ultimate dream.
So yeah, AI is the huge, overarching concept. It's that science fiction dream we've had for decades, right? Building machines that can reason, solve problems, and basically interact with the world in a way that feels, well, intelligent, just like a person.
So let's bring it back to our video game. In that world, AI is simply the goal itself. It's not how we do it, it's what we want to achieve. We want to build a system that can look at the screen, understand what's happening, and play the game with actual skill and strategy, not just random button mashing. That's the dream. Okay, so if AI is the dream, that's great, but how do we actually make it happen? You can't just wish a smart machine into existence, you have to build it. And that brings us to the practice, the real how-to of it all, machine learning. This really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you go from a, let's be honest, dumb box of circuits to a pro-level gamer? Do you try to write out millions of rules for every single possible thing that could happen? Well, believe it or not, that used to be the only way people thought you could do it.
And this right here shows the huge shift in thinking perfectly. Look over on the left at the old way. That's a poor programmer trying to write a rule for everything. If you see an enemy, then shoot. But you can't possibly cover every situation in a complex game. It's impossible. Now, look at the right side, the machine learning way. This approach says, you know what? Forget writing all the rules. Instead, let's just make the computer play the game a million times. It'll learn from its own data, from its successes and failures, and it'll figure out the winning moves all by itself.
And that, right there, is the heart of machine learning. It's a specific approach to try and achieve that big AI dream. You don't give the machine a rulebook, you give it data and a goal, and you let it write its own rulebook by learning from experience. Okay, so our machine can now learn basic strategies just by playing. That's pretty cool. But what about that next level? You know, the kind of gut feeling or intuition that the absolute best human players have? For that, we need to go a level deeper.
This is where deep learning comes into the picture. You can think of it as a super-powered, more advanced type of machine learning. And the key inspiration behind it is actually the incredible structure of our own brains.
So how does this work? It uses these complex things called neural networks. Imagine it in layers. The first layer might just see basic shapes on the game screen, a block, an enemy, simple stuff. But the next layer up takes that info and recognizes combinations, like an enemy holding a weapon. Then another layer might track the movement of that enemy. By passing information through all these layers, the machine can spot incredibly subtle patterns that simple machine learning would totally miss. So back in our game, this is like the machine not just learning from its own gameplay, but watching thousands of hours of pro players. It's developing that intuitive gut feeling for the perfect moment to make a move. So we've built a machine that can play a game with strategy and real intuition. It has mastered the game, but what if it could do even more? What if it could stop just playing the game and start creating it? This brings us to the development you've been hearing about nonstop, generative AI. Just take a look at this. This little poem here, it's about its own learning process, and it was written entirely by an AI. It analyzed massive amounts of human writing and learned the patterns of language, rhyme, and meaning well enough to create something totally new. This is the big leap, from just recognizing patterns to creating from them. And that is exactly what generative AI is. It uses all those powerful deep learning techniques we just talked about, not just to understand data, but to generate brand new, original content that's based on all the patterns it has learned. So, bringing it all home, our video game player has just hit the ultimate level up. It's no longer just a player, it's become a game developer.
It can now design new maps, create totally new characters, and even write new stories for the very game it learned to play. It went from being a consumer to a creator.
So, we've covered a ton of ground here, right? We've gone from dreams to intuition to actual creation. Let's put it all together in one final picture to make it crystal clear how everything is connected.
The best way to think of it is like a set of those Russian nesting dolls. Artificial intelligence is the biggest doll on the outside. That's the whole field. You open it up, and inside you find machine learning, which is a primary way we're trying to achieve AI today. You open that doll, and inside is deep learning, that powerful, brain-inspired technique. And generative AI, that's a key application of all those deep learning models, one that's focused purely on creation. So the most important thing to remember is this. These aren't competing ideas. They're all layers of the same concept, each one building on the last. Machine learning serves the dream of AI. Deep learning makes machine learning so much more powerful. And that power is what enables these incredible new things, like generative AI. And that leaves us with one last pretty fascinating thought. We've taken a machine from knowing nothing to learning a skill, to mastering it with intuition, and finally to becoming a creator in its own right. This whole journey is obviously far from over, and it really makes you wonder, what's the next great game we should teach him to play?